Chicken soup. Chicken soup, right? You have a cold? What do you... Chicken soup? What was the other one? Hot brandy and honey? Is there another one? When I was a kid, we had earaches. My mom or dad took like cod liver oil and a teaspoon, warmed it up, and then poured it in our ears. I don't know what it did, but it sure made us feel better. What other things make us feel, home remedies? 7-Up, upset stomach, right? 7-Up. Saltine crackers, if you have an upset stomach. What else? What are some other homemade remedies that you grew up with and you're like, I don't know if it helps a lot, but I take it anyway, like chicken soup? What else do people grow up with? Home remedies. What? Grated apple? Grated apple. Camphor oil on the chest? Yeah. Wow. You know, I watched the Beverly Hillbillies and Granny had a recipe. It was some kind of possum stew or something like that. Mr. Drysdale, he was describing to Mr. Drysdale, and she said, yeah, I've got a cure. And he said, really? What's your cure? And she said, well, you take this possum and you mix it up and you put this other stuff in there and you mix it up and you give it to him and you take it for 3 days and your cold is gone. He's like, well, of course it's going to be gone in 3 days. Naturally it's going to be gone. But Granny had her recipe for healing, right? Yeah, we all have these kinds of things that help, hopefully. If not, well, they make us feel better in some ways, starve a cold and feed a fever. We have several healing stories, haven't we, in this beginning of Mark's gospel. We start out kind of with fire and brimstone with John the Baptist, and now we're with Jesus healing people. He heals Simon and he heals now this leper who comes to him out of the blue. And if you read the scriptures a little bit more closely, the leper is asking, the man of leprosy is asking him not to be healed, but to be clean. Now, is there a difference between being healed and being clean? Well, I don't know. There might be a subtle difference. Maybe it's just the translation, because we're not exactly sure what the Greek meant, so we've got to make a best guess at, well, I think the word is clean. But I think what they're talking about is this person with leprosy is not only, of course, suffering from the physical ailment of leprosy, the skin disease, but he's also excluded from society. People can't even come near him. And if he's walking on the street, he has to yell out loud, leper, 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 so people will make their way and give him space and not go anywhere near him because they don't want to catch whatever he's got. So this man of leprosy asks for cleansing. And Jesus says, you're made clean. Go show the priest. In other words, go to the priest and be accepted back into society because only the priest can do it according to Mosaic laws. Not only physical healing, but he wanted societal healing as well. He wanted to be made clean and made whole, to come back to his fold, to his family, to his community again. Healing is something that we desperately need in this time, don't we? In several different ways. And how can we be instruments of healing in our own lives? Jesus healed individually, didn't he? People came to him as individual, and he healed them. Either by saying the words, the captain who said, my son or daughter is sick, and just say the word, and he'll be clean, and he'll be healed. And Jesus said, wow, what faith you have. Go home, your son's well. Or else Jesus would heal, would touch the person, spit in the mud, rub mud on the eyes. I can see now. Or take my hand and walk. The man with leprosy was also, Jesus could have said, you're healed of your leprosy, you're clean of your leprosy, but Jesus went a step further and actually touched him. He went past the boundaries of societal rules and actually touched this man with leprosy. You don't do that. He crossed the boundaries to make this healing possible, to show this man that there's more to life than just physical healing. And then, of course, we've got the messianic secret. Don't tell anyone. And I could never figure that out. Why would Jesus say that to anybody? Shh, don't tell them I'm Jesus, the Son of God. What? Are you kidding me? Well, we kind of get an idea that Jesus didn't want people just to blab without having the fuller picture of who Jesus was. The guy went out and said, hey, we have a miracle healer. And so everybody thought, Jesus, miracle healer. The end. That's it. That's all he's all about. One dimension. There's nothing more to Jesus than just the healer. Well, there was more to Jesus than simply that. As he went through his life and his ministry and his hanging on the cross, his forgiveness, his rising again, the salvation, all those things come into play. Don't get fleshed out until later in his life. So he wants to kind of keep a hold on it so people know the full story without getting just a snippet and maybe the wrong kind of idea of who Jesus was. Jesus the healer, the touch. Society that touch was important. Touch heals. And we know how that is with touch. Sometimes I wonder about our distance from each other in certain ways. We have, for instance, I was talking to somebody on the phone, a good friend, and they said, well, why don't you send me an email? No, I'd rather talk to you on the phone, so at least I hear your voice. And it's the next best thing to being there, so I can read your body language and see how you're doing and touch you on the shoulder if you need comfort or whatever you might need. But we as Christians, we are challenged to follow the rules. Follow the rule of love that Jesus proclaimed, that Jesus lived. Not only in our healing, but also in our words of comfort and grace and pointing towards God and saying, this is a moment of God in your life. Healing comes from us from many different ways too, don't we? We heal from a distance. The 320 will be packing food for people in Haiti. That's helping from a distance. You go to a mission trip, you go to Guatemala, you go to China, you go anywhere in the world, anywhere in the community here in Milwaukee, and you are mixed with people on a basis of close proximity. You're healing by touch, by presence. There are many different ways of healing in this life. And we are to tap into some of those things. But healing is something that the Spirit does for us and to us and for us and with us. Naaman was a great commander of the Aramean army. And he wanted to control. He said, well, this is the way healing is supposed to happen. Elisha comes out, waves his hand, says a few things, and then I'm cured. Well, Elijah just sent a message that said, just go and wash yourself 7 times. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not how the Spirit works, right? We try to control what the Spirit does. We try to control how healing happens, and we don't have that control because the Spirit won't be controlled. This healing Spirit of Jesus caused him, in some translations it says, not moved with pity, but moved with anger when this man of leprosy came to him. Anger because in some ways, possibly, he was angry at society for excluding this man. Angry at all the rules that this man had to go through to get healed or to be clean. Perhaps he was angry because now he can't go into any towns and cities like he had planned to do. Now he's going to kind of go on the outskirts in the country and do his ministry there. So it shifts his direction from going into the cities to kind of remaining on the outskirts. Well, the price of healing has a cost, doesn't it? For all of us, it changes not only the person healed, but the person who is doing the healing. Sometimes it costs us something. It cost Jesus a different direction in his ministry. Sometimes it costs us in ways that we can't even fathom or imagine. The cost of healing, the cost of discipleship. Sometimes we don't know where the Spirit's going to lead us. We're taking 11 kids down to New Orleans, and we're not sure what's going to happen down there. Hopefully we can contain somewhat what's going to happen down there, but the Spirit's going to do what the Spirit's going to do. I was substituting at a high school one time, and I had lunch hour duty. Can you imagine lunch hour duty in a high school? I mean, middle school would be worse, sometimes a little bit more lively. But, these kids are all over the place. And the assistant principal said, it's like putting your hand on water, isn't it? You just can't. I mean, it's just all over the place. It's organized chaos. In some ways, the Spirit is like that. It can't be contained. You can't nail Jell-O to a tree. You can try. I suppose if you cook it long enough, you put enough stuff in there. But the Spirit won't be contained. Our response is to heal however we can. with the knowledge that we might be changed in the process, maybe for the good. We never thought of that. Me coming from I don't know if this is my background, in Nordic background, but sometimes I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. If I see a situation, I think of the worst possible outcome. I don't think of, there could be new, beautiful possibilities. Nope. My first thought is, it's a disaster. It's going to be different. It's going to change. It's going to be worse. We've got to get out of that mindset. The Spirit's going to act on you. Who knows where you're going to be in the future? Who knows how the Spirit's going to enrich your life? You take a chance in doing something, and the Spirit will affect you in certain ways. You think, wow, this is wonderful. We had a youth group at Christ Church in Palatine 20 years ago. I came on as the youth director. We had a group of 6 adults, three parent sets and 7 adults. 3 sets of parents and 1 person who was single. And we got together. We're planning stuff for the kids. But they were faithful to the kids. They were with them all the time, and they did all the planning. And sooner or later, what do you know? The parents are really developing some deep, deep relationships. They got something more out of it than they expected to because the Spirit was leading them in certain ways. It's amazing to be open to what the Spirit will do, how the Spirit will heal you in ways you least expect. That's what's going on with the Gospel of Mark and the healing Spirit of Jesus in this Gospel. We're not sure what's going to happen next. Jesus can't predict that this guy won't say, and he says, don't say anything. But somehow the Spirit leads this man to spread it out throughout the whole Galilean countryside. The Spirit won't be contained yet. The Spirit works with that kind of thing. And the Spirit is still working today. We still have the gospel message. It hasn't been dead. The Spirit is not dead. The Spirit continues to be alive and going in different directions, fulfilling all of us in our present day needs, allowing us to grow in different ways that we least expect it. Jesus encountered this man with leprosy and was willing to do what it takes to make this man clean, even if it's to change his direction slightly. But Jesus had trust in the Spirit, where the Spirit would lead him, where the Spirit would take him, right to the very end. And we as Christians follow suit. We're not sure exactly where the Spirit will lead, but we follow with faith, knowing that God is with us, that God is holding us in the palm of God's hand, protecting us. Amen.